Welcome to Parenting Tips with Dr. Glow on the WDKX Podcast Network, where the conversation never ends. I'm reminding you that education is in my DNA. I am so excited to share today's segment because since I was the age of 15, I have been a New York Knicks fan. Well, some people look at me and they're like, huh, how'd that happen? Well, I was raised with two brothers, and as a result of being raised with those two brothers, I had to learn sports. They played everything and anything. And when the television was on, there were times we fought, and mom would force us to turn it off. And as a result, they would get angry with me because I wanted to watch the comedies and the musicals and the romance movies, and they wanted to watch sports. So I made an offer. I said, if you tell me about the rules of the game and about the game, okay, you can watch your games, but we have to share. And they decided, yep, we'll do that. Well, they reneged the next time, and I told mom, and they had to turn the TV off, and eventually I learned about the New York Knicks. I learned about football. I learned about baseball. And I have them to give credit and homage to. So thanks, brothers, for what you did for me. But back in the month of June, which was a very heavy month, there were celebrations. There was Father's Day. There were things happening related to the World Cup. All kinds of things were happening in June. But probably one day in the month of June, which was considered Game 4, when the NBA finals were going on, there were two teams, the San Antonio Spurs, who were higher ranked, and the New York Knicks. And that Game 4 was called the Miracle Game. And unless you've been somewhere under a rock or hibernating, you have seen in social media, on television, in print, a few places about that particular game. People in New York City and across this country and world who are New York Knicks fans were elated because with exactly 29 points down in the first half, and I think in the third quarter, 25 points down, the New York Knicks were considered the team that was going to lose that day. They were already up 2-1, and this was Game 4 in New York City at the Madison Square Garden. So, Mom, Dad, why am I talking about this? Well, understand, as a child, the things I learned negotiating with my brothers were valuable, and those are things we can teach, as my mother did with us. She made us teach ourselves the value of negotiating and getting along, but it also cemented a behavior which was positive for my future, and also cemented, I should say, the fact that I was a fan for life. So, why am I talking about this? Because at halftime, whether it was the celebrities or the ordinary fans in nosebleed, as well as the bench of New York Knicks, they had lost that game, period. Halftime, the looks on the faces was like, this is it. But guess what? Nobody went home. The Knicks did not give up. And as a result, with 1 minute and 22 seconds left, okay, they took the lead. Did you hear what I said? 1 minute and 22 seconds. They were resilient. They would not give up. They saw hope. They fought as a team. As I reflect on me and my brothers, we were a team. Actually, we all went to a couple of NBA games when There was a team in Buffalo. Yeah, that's how old I am. And it was a camaraderie that I celebrate. We were teenagers, and mom trusted us. And I value that. And I valued watching that entire game to the point that I watched that game a second time. So they got it together on the offensive and defensive side of things. There were plays that were made and people were in awe. They were determined that they were not going to win. I'm sorry, they were not going to lose on their home court. So let's talk about our children. When we see them, let's say, appearing to lose it, and whatever it is, can be anything from a sport they're playing, from the test they failed, or they're a freshman in college and there are challenges going on with a roommate. I can talk about so many things that have happened within our community as well as within the United States where we have seen people lose it. And sometimes they may even feel defeated. That's our time to step up and encourage them and support them, as those coaches, I'm sure, did in the locker room and as the team did among themselves. They made a decision that we're not giving up. We're down, but we're not out. Yeah, I say that again. They were down, but they were not giving up. They fought and they fought, and positive results happened. The entire place went up like lightning, and folks had smiles. They were hugging each other. There was unified effort among everybody. It was like strangers became friends, and they were true fans in that building. They did what needed to be done to win. That's what one of the players, OG is his name, that's what OG said when he was interviewed. We never gave up, and we did what we needed to do to win. So when we talk about resilience and never giving up, let's talk about us as parents. We have had experiences. I know I have. And I'm telling you, I've had everything from money being funny to my health not being the best to my divorce and a few other things. But I made a decision not to give up. What our children see is what they will mimic. And I've talked about that before. I appreciate the fact that I also had a parent who would not give up, who was an encourager, who was a supporter. And that's what we all need to do as a team. Think about your neighborhood. Think about your sphere of influence, your coworkers, those who may be older or even younger than you. Think about the peers of your children. Think about the parents of the peers of your children. Think about the relatives you have, whether older or younger. And what are some things that you can do to make a difference? Are you a part of a team that will say, we can do this? Or are you that Debbie Downer or that negative Nate that will say bad things and not encourage and support others in what they need to do? There was one fan that I must quote who, after that game 4, made these comments, and I'm going to have to read them to make sure I say it right. My mayor's still Muslim, and he said, my bagel is still Jewish, the Pope is on our side, and the Knicks in 5. He made that prediction after game 4. And guess what? The Knicks, when they went back to San Antonio, they did win game 5. So that young man was an immigrant from another country, and he was surrounded by friends of different races and ethnicities when he said this. And what he has become is the poster child of the importance of resilience and immigration and being able to have people surrounding you who are diverse. So I celebrate that particular fan, and I always will be able to say the Knicks in five. Thank you so much for listening to Parenting Tips with Dr. Glow on the WDKX Podcast Network. My question for you is, who can you say you have helped to become resilient?